Welcome back to Carl and Rick Talk Risk. Rick, how's it going this week?
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having fun. Hope everyone is skating to the edge and getting bumps and bruises. Because if you're not getting bumps and bruises, you're not trying hard enough.
You're doing what I do on skate, which is just stand still and not know enough to fall over.
Oh, that's lots of fun and does a lot for your social capital, I'm sure.
Definitely does. You should. I've got video of myself with a bright blue plastic elephant walker on the ice as you know, a 30-year-old man. I hope it doesn't get out.
Oh, now you have just sent all of our listeners to the internet to do the deep dive. Carl
Yeah.
Denson on with elephant skating trainer. Yeah, I can see that Google's going to blow up with that search.
It's not pretty, Rick. It's not pretty.
What's
I,
on your
I've,
mind this week, Carl?
okay, I've got some good news for recent graduates entering the workforce, going to their big, fancy, shiny towers in New York and Toronto. Um, Bank of America and JP Morgan are taking serious. Oh, you know what I'm going to say. They're taking seriously the working week. There was a Wall Street Journal study into how new grads are just working killer hours and it's so stressful and everything. And these guys are taking it seriously. They're going to start monitoring new grads. And JP Morgan has put a cap on working hours. So don't worry, folks. You only have to work 80 hours a week at JP Morgan now.
And you get something like a guaranteed break once a month, a guaranteed between like I can't remember the specifics, 9 p.m. Friday and 4 p.m. on Saturday or something like that.
Yeah.
1 week a month.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but did they not do the exact same thing about 5 or 6 years ago? Only
Yeah.
there they capped it at 120 hours.
Probably. I think they do it every year. When I was an
Yeah.
intern at Citigroup back in grad school, so 2011, um, they had somebody had died the year before. An intern had actually died from fatigue, and so they actually kicked us out after 40 hours. That was nice because I got to see New York instead of sitting at City's headquarters for the whole week. Um, but yeah, I think it happens every year. I mean, it's just that's how it goes.
I mean, I remember being kicked out of car services that dropped me at my house.
Yeah,
But as far as the bank ever kicking me out because I was working too much, I don't remember that.
yeah, yeah. Not a thing. Not a thing.
I was pretty lucky, being on a trading desk. I think our lives were a lot easier. True story.
Yeah.
True story. My uh, my third day on the job, it was a Friday, and I was given a bunch of contracts to read. And the funny thing is I didn't actually have a seat, so I'd kind of have to go around every morning to find out who wasn't going to be there that day to actually have a seat,
Right.
which was a little bit embarrassing. So on this day, for whatever reason, I had to sit out back. I was given this huge stack of contracts to go through and read. Anyhow, the janitor woke me up at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I just totally conked out, just totally fell asleep. It was pretty embarrassing. And janitor goes, "Son, I think you've been here long enough."
Yeah. Those contracts don't look comfortable.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
man.
Since I haven't looked at a ISDA since then, but anyhow,
Okay. Well, yeah, that's the good news. So Rick, I'll tell you what, I often think about AI these days, uh, and I'm trying to think of ways it can help me do my job. Uh, and I like to think I come up with practical ways of using it, and I've come up with a few things that I like that I use again and again. I wonder. I wonder if you do the same, but I'll give you a few examples. Um, so I found when, you know, um, AI can be fantastic at looking up regulation. But if you ask it, hey, find me some market risk regulation, it's going to give you something, but it's going to miss the mark by a wide margin. So I found you really need to be careful with your prompts. You really need to say, listen, I want something from that was published most recently that's in force. I want to look at this article. I want this exact thing from that article. Um, you have to be super careful and actually ask it to verify itself. I didn't know you could do that with the models, but basically ask it to verify itself, check multiple sources, check at least 10 sources, and the results compared with naive prompting where you like go find me this and more advanced prompting where you like these are all the criteria, check your own work, double check it. Um, are vast. I mean, you get pretty good results when you really take your prompt seriously and are very specific with your questions. And then on top of that, you can actually ask the AI how you want it to respond to you. So one thing I learned recently is Spartan. If you ask AI to respond Spartan, it gives you the least possible number of words in its response. No silly introduction of, sure, Carl, I'm going to look in. No, just give me the answer. And that's what it does. And I'm getting way more value out of it. Um, yeah. So I'm wondering, what have you gone through a similar process using AI?
Uh, well, two immediate thoughts is first off, I'm at that stage of my career where fortunately I do not have to look at the nitty gritties of regulation anymore. So I spare myself that. The second thing is right now I have a little bit of a bone to pick with ChatGPT because, like everyone else, when it first came out, I got the trial account and then very quickly said, "This is cool, and yes, I'll spend for, you know, the full pro account."
Mm.
And then about 2 weeks ago, my computer, and I'm not quite sure why or how, but commingled the account. So now the account that I'm paying for thinks that it's my free account. So I keep getting picked out because I'm using it too much, which is really freaking annoying. And of course, you go to ChatGPT and it tells you to log into your account to fix it, but I can't log into my freaking account because it's thinking I'm in my, you know, free
The
trial
trial.
account from,
Yeah.
2 years ago or 18 months ago or whatever it was. Okay. Um, what I've been using it for is very, very specific things. And so
Mm.
this kind of aligns with what you say is that if you have something very specific and you ask it something very specific, it's uh, it's amazing in my point of view.
Mm.
Um, I think though now what's going to I truly believe that we're still at a you've got mail or sorry I could do a better job of that you've got mail, which of course is a phrase that only people of a certain age will understand. So everyone under the age of probably 35 is scratching their head wondering what the heck is Rick going on about. But we're still at the early stages of like we were at the internet with email and whatnot.
Mm.
And we thought we were going to go in all these directions with the internet, with the instant communication and whatnot.
Mm.
Obviously, the internet and email, et cetera, became huge. But it's actually absolutely nothing like what we thought it would be or what it was hyped as.
Mm.
And I think that we're at that same stage now with AI. And I think that, we don't think about the internet now. We don't, we literally, no one talks about the internet because it's been
Yeah.
integrated into so many other things in ways that we generally really do not appreciate.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that that's going to happen with AI. I think that we're still really early, um, ridiculously early stages with it, with what it's going to go. And even the pundits have no clue of eventually where it's going to go.
Yeah.
I do take your caution, and I see this with my students. They all give the same answer when I ask if they're using ChatGPT. Oh, I just use it to, idea generation or to check my work or, to get me started. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, BS. Uh, they're using it very uncritically. And um, having said that, uh, we as society have to punish. And off the record, exactly a specific instance that we can't talk about here.
Yeah.
But we have to punish the people that use it uncritically. And we have to provide a learning mechanism. Um, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about bad use of AI actually propagating itself. I'm not worried about
Yeah.
AI becoming self-conscious and
Yeah.
taking over the world. You know, uh, I think that's pretty easily solved. You, and perhaps
Yeah.
I'm naive, but you pull the plug. Um, but I'm more worried. oh, Let me shift gears here just for a second. The irony of automation. We've talked about this before. This is ultimately what I'm afraid of, is because we're kind of in a downward spiral with the irony of automation. Lisa Bainbridge's famous article from the 50s on the irony of automation was talking about automation in the factory. And as you automate more, that means that when things go wrong, you actually need people who have greater wisdom and greater understanding of the nuance.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if everything is automated, all the things that we learned by being an apprentice, by spending those 1,000-hour weeks at Citibank doing the nitty gritty calculations that are now done by AI, we no longer go through those apprentice type uh, positions because it's being done by AI. And
Yeah.
no, I'm not talking about like Germany's formal apprentice, but I'm talking about what happens, globally.
Yeah.
But the thing is when things go wrong, you need someone with that experience who understands the nuances.
Yeah.
A classic example is the Black-Scholes option pricing equation. Okay, it works awesome 95% of the time. It works horrible in 5% of the time. And when's the time that you really need it, particularly for risk management applications? When you really need it is the 5% when it's absolutely useless.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
do we build that expertise if we're all relying upon AI for quote unquote the simple or complicated stuff? For those who know my, religion of systems theory,
Yeah.
if we're relying upon AI, how do we build that intuition? How do we build that sixth sense that
Yeah.
something's not right here and we need the human to intervene? And even furthermore, how do we develop the humans, uh, their skill, if all the basic learning is done by AI?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, if that learning curve is taken away, then how do
Yeah,
you ever get expertise that
yeah,
can solve these things? Yeah, the dependency problem, right? Like,
yeah.
we've said it here before. I still haven't been convinced otherwise. I'm not a believer that AI should be writing a first draft. It should be You should be writing a first draft. AI can help you after that. That's when AI can supplement your own creativity. But you let it write the first draft, that's AI's paper. You're editing AI, not the other way around. Um, that's no good. Um, yeah, it's a good question. It hasn't been asked a lot because there is so much excitement, right? You can look at Nvidia's stock price and you see it, right? It's buffeted one way or the
Yeah.
other, depending on the news.
I'm speaking at a couple of upcoming conferences on the irony of automation, And I could be very wrong, but I think that that is actually going to be a pretty prominent theme, or something like it's going to be a pretty prominent theme in about 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. 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 Once we understand its true capabilities and what effect it's having on us, right? Because we're starting to
Mm.
see it. You're probably more on the front lines with students and stuff. I'd say corporations are a bit more conservative. Like they can block AI, right? But it's still making its way in, and yeah, we don't know what effect it's going to have. Yeah,
Overall, I'm bullish on AI.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so I don't want to have people think that I'm a luddite or AI
yeah,
luddite. I'm actually anything but.
yeah.
But like everything else, you needs to be used with human input.
Of course, the printing press gave us tabloids and Dostoevsky, right? So it's a huge variation there. um, that brings up one more AI application which I am starting to use more, and that's as a teacher, to give me examples of financial products and how it's used, what kind of risk measures fall out of it. What do they mean? And give me simple examples so I can learn about new products. That's how I'm using it specifically. And one more way I'm letting it teach me is, and I haven't actually tried this, but I want to. There's a new policy developed, 100 pages long. Build me a 5 module course to understand what that policy is all about, and with quizzes, right? Build me an entire mini course around this new policy, so I don't have to read through page 1 to 100. Um, Build that out for me, make it more interesting, gamify it a little bit, and help me learn it. So I haven't tried that one yet. I'll report back when I do, but
Mm.
got hopes for that one.
On your first point, I actually think that one of the major offspins from this,
Mm.
from AI and the development of the databases, and again, to me, the key shift is digitization.
Yeah,
Okay, but one of the offspins that I think is going to be valuable is what I call dumb AI. And yes, this might already be done out there under different terms.
yeah,
But because of the databases, instead of having artificial intelligence, uh, really simple Google type uh, searching of the now much more richly developed databases and data sets is going to allow you to uh, build those knowledge models in a very different way. Now, it's not going to give you
yeah.
the quizzes and whatnot, which would require what we call AI. But
Hmm.
in terms of research, it's fundamentally going to change things.
Right. Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
again, it actually makes it harder to find things as well, right? Because you have the paradox of choice starts to kick in as well.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that part will be interesting. I mean, are you talking there about, for instance, um, measures of consumer behavior in for like credit risk or something? So you're not just taking credit scores and certain
Yeah.
quantitative metrics, but you're also sort of taking qualitative, unstructured stuff as well, right? That's your
Yeah.
digitization. Okay,
Or
that'll be
also,
interesting.
building a database of historical examples,
Yeah,
or
right.
building a database of potential future scenarios.
Yeah, yeah. That gets into something we raise consistently on this podcast, that kind of human element, right? What happens in certain scenarios? How do people behave? How do they interact with the markets, rather than just what do yields do, you know?
Yeah.
So okay, we had a few other things, but I think maybe we'll leave it till the next podcast. So yeah, come back next time for what was it, Rick? Banana equivalence. We'll give a teaser here. You'll learn all about banana equivalence next time, folks. Okay. Well, Rick, it's been good chatting. Please subscribe and comment on something you heard, how we're using AI in a practical day-to-day way that maybe we haven't covered yet. It'd be interesting to hear. And we'll catch up next time, Rick. Good seeing you.
Have fun out there.